Hello and welcome! My name's Heather. I'm a registered professional counselor, and I like to watch scenes from Gilmore Girls and analyze them for you. Today, I'm going to be watching the episode where Rory meets Jess in New York and she misses Lorelai's graduation. So let's get into it.
What's up?
Nothing. What about you?
Same. I'm gonna go. This is long distance.
Yeah, it is long distance.
Is it still long distance if it's on a payphone?
Yeah.
Like, do you just pay more
Yeah.
for it? So Jess calls Rory, and it's clear that he misses her, and, they have a really brief conversation, and I think Rory was surprised to hear from him. And it's clearly brought up some feelings for Rory, because I think at this point she hasn't talked to Jess or seen Jess since that night they got into the accident, and so I don't exactly know, how long it's been since they talked. I'm sure she was really surprised to hear from him, and now it's brought up a lot of feelings and emotions for her. She has an overwhelming sense to go see him and to go find him. And so she skips school, she takes the bus, and she ends up finding him in the park.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good. How about you?
Good.
Now, this could be considered a grand romantic gesture. You could just see even when she goes and says hi to him, you see that smile on his face. And I think he's also surprised, but I think there's part of him that, I guess, this action confirms that she does like him. And they basically spend the whole day together, and we see them chatting, flirting, and catching up. And Jess is showing Rory around to his favorite places, his favorite spots. And it's clear that this trip has given them more opportunity to bond, and it's definitely possible that after this trip their feelings for each other have grown stronger. And because they're in a new city, things are exciting, they don't have the judgment of the town or Lorelai, or Dean's out of the picture right now, and so all of these external factors that are kind of keeping them apart in Stars Hollow isn't an issue for them in New York. The other reason why I think this trip really intensified Rory's feeling for Jess is because compared to her relationship with Dean, which is very routine, right? It's Stars Hollow. They go see a movie, they go eat food, they hang out with Lorelai. And of course, it's very common and very normal for couples who are in long-term relationships to have a sense of routine, and there's less of that honeymoon phase. But now she's comparing that comfort that she has with Dean to this new and exciting thing that she has with Jess. And it's quite a contrast for her. And I think that's also what's feeding into this confusion that she may have as well.
I said, why did you come here?
Well,
You ditched school and everything, and so not you.
because you didn't say goodbye.
So I'm really glad that Jess was assertive, and he asked Rory a direct question, which is, why did you come here? And I think for him, he also wants to know what her answer would be, because I think for Jess, he also considers this to be a bit of a grand gesture, and I think he really wants to see what Rory has to say about it, because it would give him some indication of whether or not he's got a chance with her. And we see that Rory, she wants a sense of closure. She said that he left without saying goodbye because she still considered him a friend. Even if she has feelings for him, I think she still considers that they have some form of a special friendship. And it hurt her to know that he left without saying goodbye.
Bye, Rory.
Bye, Jess.
And I think Jess is surprised by her answer because he probably thought that Rory didn't want to see him after the accident, or he didn't want to deal with the possibility of Rory hating him. And I think that with her showing up and just her giving him the answer of because you didn't say goodbye, I think he realized that Rory does have feelings for him. I think that's how he interpreted it, which is why he decided to go back to Stars Hollow shortly after this, I think. I'll analyze that episode in a different video, so stay tuned for that and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. So Rory's on the bus and she's trying to make it back to Lorelai's graduation, which unfortunately she misses due to the scheduling of the bus.
You're okay, right?
Yes,
Everything's working. Your wrist's okay. Nothing new's broken.
I'm fine.
Anyone you know, like Lane or someone, suddenly get sick today?
What I really like about Lorelai's approach is that she's asking Rory all these other important questions. So, are you hurt? Did something happen to Lane or someone important to you? She doesn't want to make assumptions as to why Rory missed her graduation, and she's wanting to assess the situation and see if it was because of an emergency and want to make sure that everything's okay. And after she's kind of sussed all that out and asked those important questions, then she can really respond to let Rory know that she was really hurt and angry that Rory didn't show up to her graduation. And it is completely understandable why Lorelai would feel this way, especially because Rory was the one who encouraged Lorelai to have the graduation in the first place, and then she also invited Emily and Richard without telling Lorelai about it. That was all Rory's doing, and she wasn't there to kind of be the buffer.
I cut school and I got on a bus and I don't even know why I did it. I have no excuse. I don't know. I must have had a stroke or something. What does a stroke feel like?
And we see that Rory is visibly upset and she's visibly remorseful about what happened. It's not like Rory missed her graduation on purpose. She really thought that she was able to make it back in time, and she was able to find her, this perfect gift, which unfortunately she left on the bus, which kind of just it just breaks my heart, this whole situation. And for Rory, she's so hard on herself, and she had, I don't know how long on the bus sitting next to the guy who was spitting into a can to just kind of punish herself and to realize how much she's hurt Lorelai. And I think she's also realizing okay, well, this is what I'm going to do to try to make it up to her, because she understands what she did was wrong. And I think that's also one of the reasons why Lorelai is not actively getting angry or trying to punish Rory, because Rory's doing a good job of that on her own. And I think Lorelai realizes that if she were to pile it on, it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to help the situation. What are your thoughts around Rory going to New York to meet Jess and also missing Lorelai's graduation? Share in the comments below.
You went to New York to see Jess.
It was the stroke. It made me someone else. And after his phone call last night,
That was him?
it did something to me.
And of course, Rory completely acted out of character and she knows it. Even for Lorelai to be shocked to hear that Rory skipped school to go to New York, Rory is grappling with her feelings for Jess and she doesn't really know how to deal with it. And this is how it's impacting her and her actions, her behaviors, which unfortunately also has a ripple effect in terms of how it's impacting the people around her.
Maybe, honey, you are falling for Jess.
No, I love Dean. Dean is my boyfriend. He will always be my boyfriend. That's it. Forever.
We see that she doesn't like the idea of having these feelings for Jess, and we see that she's trying to deny it. And honestly, I think because of the extent of the severity of how much she wants to punish herself for missing the graduation, I think it's also partly because she's punishing herself for having these feelings for Jess. Also, did Dean find out that Rory went to New York to see Jess? Does anyone know? Let me know in the comments below, because that's something I just realized as well. I wonder how Dean would have felt knowing that Rory went off to New York, skipped school, to hang out with Jess all day. Probably he would not take that very well. The other thing that I think is important mentioning is that Rory is a teenager. So her brain is not fully formed or developed yet. And especially in terms of the prefrontal cortex, which is in charge of forethought, executive planning, executive functions. And even though Rory is a planner and she's organized and she's on top of her schoolwork, it doesn't necessarily mean that these translate to other aspects of her life. So that impulsivity can be explained because of the underdeveloped prefrontal cortex, which usually doesn't get fully developed until we're mid-20s, if not closer to 30s. So something to keep in mind, because that is one of the last parts of our brains that gets fully developed. But it's not to justify what she did or justify her actions, but it's to help understand what might have led up to this.
Well, maybe not forever.
Yes, forever. I love Dean, and Jess is gone now, and everything's gonna be good again. Everything's gonna be all right.
And I think that she realized that her feelings for Jess is definitely an inconvenience, and I think that's why she's trying so hard to ignore them or to deny it and to push it away, because now she's saying that because Jess is out the picture, she doesn't have to worry about this anymore. Therefore, she can just focus on her relationship with Dean, but she's also implying that if Jess was in Stars Hollow, then it would be an issue, because those feelings don't just magically go away. And research has shown that about 80% of people have admitted to having a crush on someone other than their partner at some point in their relationship. So it is quite common to have fleeting feelings or, a crush on someone else. The important thing is, what do you do with those feelings? How do you deal with that? And it seems like for Rory, she is going into deep feelings of guilt and remorse, and she's punishing herself for having those feelings and for missing Lorelai's graduation because of those feelings.
That doesn't mean nothing. That means something. I mean,
No, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
So Lorelai also thinks that Rory went to New York because she has feelings for Jess. And we see that she is being really kind with how she's bringing this up, and she's not shaming Rory for having feelings for someone else when she is in a relationship with Dean. She's just trying to state the fact and trying to help Rory come to terms with her feelings. But because Rory is in this sense of denial, she doesn't want to acknowledge the fact that she does have these feelings for someone else, and she just repeats that, she loves Dean, she's going to be with Dean forever. And the problem with her denying her feelings is that she won't be able to figure out a solution. She won't be able to figure out what to do with these feelings if she doesn't even acknowledge them. And this is definitely a huge problem, because it's not like we can ignore our feelings. I guess we could, but there are definitely unhealthy ways of coping with not wanting to deal with our feelings, and our feelings just have a way of coming out in some form or another anyways.
I'm so sorry, Mom.
oh, really? Because you didn't make that clear.
And I know a lot of people would say that Rory was being selfish and that she shouldn't have gone, or she should have gone a different day. And I mean, I think Rory just definitely overestimated her ability to be able to make it back on time. And again, it's not like she purposely missed Lorelai's graduation. It was just one of those situations that sometimes happens in life where things just don't plan out as you thought it would be, and could have been avoided, absolutely. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe for more analysis videos of Gilmore Girls. There's going to be a lot. There's 7 seasons worth plus the revival, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of those videos. Feel free to check out my other therapist reviews videos, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Until then, be kind and love yourself.